So, I went to see Return to Silent Hill last Thursday, an adaptation of one of my all-time favorite video games, Silent Hill 2. I took my wife to see it with me, and when we were driving home from the theater, my wife looked over at my face and saw that I looked pretty disturbed. So she asked me, "What's wrong?" And I said to her, "Hun, what I am about to say might sound like a joke, but I mean it with the utmost sincerity." She said, "Okay," and then I said, "I feel like an abusive husband for taking you to see that movie. This movie literally made me sick."
Better do something about that cough.
Shut up, Jim. Seeing this movie wasn't just poisonous to my soul, but to my actual body. It's almost like my immune system was cringing at the movie so hard that it just gave up and said, "You're on your own, buddy," and then committed secondhand Sudoku. Now I'm muscling through a throat full of glass because everybody else is putting out their reviews and I don't want mine to get lost in the fog. Oh, you thought that pun was cringe? That was Shakespeare compared to this movie. Guys, we are all prone to hyperbole. I am certainly no stranger to it. But I sincerely feel that Return to Silent Hill is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's not because changes were made, because I understand full well that needed to happen in the adaptation process. And it's not because my expectations were high, because frankly, they were lower than my expectations that Ubisoft will ever release Beyond Good and Evil 2. You want to know where my expectations were? I said to myself, I'll be happy if it's as bad as Silent Hill Revelation. As long as it's the good type of bad, you know, like that movie was. No, there is a reason why I think I read that it's the lowest rated video game movie on Rotten Tomatoes in the last 2 decades. It's because this movie somehow managed to make the wrong decision in almost every single capacity. There are only 2 points of praise I can offer this movie. One is that the director, Christoph Gans, does compose a number of shots that are framed quite nicely. You know, from a cinematography standpoint, just like the first Silent Hill movie. And it was nice hearing a number of Akira Yamaoka's tracks playing in the background. But that's it. Everything else about this movie is bad. Now, I would be a lot more furious, you know, raising my voice and all that, but I won't for 2 reasons. One, obviously, is because I'm sick. And the other is because I don't believe this movie is going to damage the Silent Hill brand too much. I don't believe anybody is going to see it because it is being marketed so poorly. So what we're all going to do is pull a Silent Hill Ascension and just pretend that this never happened, right? Okay? But before we collectively do that, you know, while you're here, I might as well explain why this movie is such a travesty. I was going to do a non-spoiler and a spoiler-filled review, but F it. I'm just going to spoil everything because I don't want any of you to see this movie, alright? Okay? You have been warned. Rant mode activated. So, let me explain the fundamental root of the problem here because all the other problems will make sense after that. Christoph Gans not only doesn't understand Silent Hill 2, he doesn't understand why it is different from Silent Hill 1. By that, I mean he doesn't understand subtlety at all. If you took a film class on the art of subtle storytelling and David Lynch was teaching it, he would think he accidentally wandered into home economics. The dude just doesn't get it. The foundation of Silent Hill 2's story is based on restraint from what is withheld. And then, after brooding in the atmosphere and the symbolism for an extended period of time, then the meaning comes forward. That's why I mentioned David Lynch, because that's exactly what he does, and it's why the original developers for the original Silent Hill games drew from his works in the first place. By contrast, Silent Hill 1 is about world building and visual novelty. Its impact does come from the fact that the world feels so alien, what with the fog, the industrial aesthetic, and the nonsensical monsters. The reason why the first Silent Hill movie worked for a lot of people is because the foundation of that story played into Christoph Gans' strengths as a visual stylist. Granted, there is a lot of subtlety to the first Silent Hill game as well, which is why I personally don't like the first Silent Hill film because I don't think it captured that well. But the director got away with it with a select number of people. And even I will admit that the movie is still beautiful to look at 20 years later. But with Return to Silent Hill, he's trying to direct the damn thing like he directed the first Silent Hill movie. That's like having Michael Bay direct Schindler's List. He completely and utterly misses the point. And the most obvious way this problem surfaces is how the movie never shuts up and lets a single moment breathe. Nothing is held close to the vest like in the original game. Everything has to be explained. Like, how many times do you have to hear the guy playing James do a voiceover narration saying, "Mary was everything to me. I can't live without Mary." Yes, we get it. Stop talking to me like I'm 4 years old. And more importantly, why don't you actually show why James and Mary love each other so much? Which, by the way, the movie completely neglects to do. This is one of the worst romances I've ever seen in a movie ever. The two actors have absolutely zero chemistry. I didn't buy their romance for a second. To be fair to them though, they might actually be good actors. In fact, I know for a fact that the guy playing James is a good actor. But the dialogue that he and everybody else has to work with is so stilted and artificial that they couldn't transmute it into anything good. And it's not even artificial in a way that feels intentionally uncanny or unsettling. Not in the cool Silent Hill 2 way. It literally feels like dialogue written by a moody high schooler. Which, by the way, is how James's character is written in this movie. The depth of his brooding and sadness is akin to a teenager who just discovered My Chemical Romance for the first time. As for the other characters, Eddie is completely wasted. He's literally only there for one scene and then disappears. Laura comes off more like a character out of a Tim Burton movie. Angela comes across like she was stapled into the script at the last minute. And Pyramid Head? Oh my god, Pyramid Head? They barely used him. And when he is on screen, he doesn't really do anything. I mean, even though Pyramid Head shouldn't have been in the first movie from a lore standpoint, because he is specifically supposed to be a manifestation of James's mind, at least he did some memorable sadistic stuff when he showed up. He was a big positive of that movie. Here, they not only waste him, they completely destroy the mystery surrounding what he represents by explicitly spelling out that Pyramid Head is the dark side of James's mind. So what? Does that mean James was Pyramid Head in the first two Silent Hill movies? Or are they lower in the Pyramid Head corporate hierarchy? God, this is so stupid! This is the recurring problem of the movie. Instead of trusting in the imagery, silence, and implication that the story of Silent Hill 2 was predicated on, it keeps dragging everything into the open and explaining it to death until there is nothing mysterious, unsettling, or meaningful. All that exists is visual noise and soulless dialogue. And nowhere is this approach more destructive than the changes to Mary and her backstory. Christoph Gans tries to loop the occult stuff from the first game and his first movie into this movie, when the occult was only subtly hinted at in the second game. In trying to make that carry over, it undermines an important part of James's history with Mary. Instead of her getting sick from an unknown disease, it's because she ingested some sort of poison from a cult. That completely negates the catalyst behind James's delusions from the game. James's guilt and repression come from the slow, helpless erosion of someone he loves and the fact that he killed her because he wanted to escape the weight of that suffering and try to move on with his life. That is infinitely better than some occult conspiracy. If you're going to get rid of that and do your own thing, at least replace it with something that works just as well. And on that note, in order to maintain the emotion, how about don't make Mary his girlfriend that he only knew for a few months? You know, instead of his wife? But obviously the worst part about the changes with Mary is that effing reveal that Angela and Laura are fragments of Mary's personality. No, sorry, that doesn't work. You need Laura and Angela to be independent agents so they can serve as relational mirrors to James, to challenge and reflect his guilt back at him. Then you need Maria to be his form of wish fulfillment to contrast against the real Laura and Angela in order to blur the boundary between reality and unreality. Once you collapse all of those characters into a single person, you destroy the entire psychological dynamic. You reduce this complex web into a novelty, a name puzzle pretending to be depth. It's like saying that the reveal that Tom Marvolo Riddle in Harry Potter is an anagram for I am Lord Voldemort is a level of profundity that would make Nietzsche fume with envy. It's all just so thoughtless. And that thoughtlessness extends to stuff like minor details and stuff that would have been easy wins for the movie. The title card is probably the worst, most inappropriate title card I've ever seen in a movie. It feels like none of the psychosexual themes for the game are in this movie, except maybe a little bit with the abstract daddy towards the end. Having Maria be the one that says she looks like Mary is so stupid when what they should have done, if they're not going to have James acknowledge it, is just not acknowledge it out loud at all. Just let that detail creep under the audience's skin. And even though I do give credit to the movie for looking and sounding good at times, they even find a way to mess that up in a number of respects. There are a lot of shots where James visibly looks like he's standing on a soundstage, and some of the monsters somehow manage to look worse than the CGI monsters in Silent Hill Revelation. And even though obviously Akira Yamaoka's tracks are cool, it feels like the inclusion of his music was cut in half from previous movies, and the rest was just cheap use of classical music. I think they used Bach's, the second movement, Suite number 3, something like that, like 3 different times in this movie, and it just didn't fit. God, this is killing me. In the end, Christoph Gans took one of the greatest video games of all time, in my opinion the greatest horror game ever made, and he changed almost everything about it. And not a single one of those changes made the movie better. Not one. Without exaggeration, the movie would have been better if it were just a shot-for-shot remake of the game. It wouldn't be good, because the way the story in the game is presented would need to be adapted for a passive viewing experience. But it definitely would have been better than this travesty. I'm sorry guys, I don't normally like getting this negative on my channel, but I'm not going to lie to you. This was awful. Anyway, I know there's probably a decent amount of stuff that I missed. I've only seen this movie once, and I probably will do a more comprehensive breakdown in the future when it comes out on home video. And you know, when I'm not sick as a dog. Special thanks to my wife for being amazing and putting up with watching this movie with me, and thanks to all of you for listening. I promise we'll be back to the positive vibes in no time. Until then, remember to stay safe and stay yellow.